June 6, 2022. The world was still not completely free from the shadows of COVID-19. The city was slowly reopening, but hearts remained locked behind walls of fear, caution, and solitude. Every face carried traces of exhaustion and anxiety, and silence echoed in every home. Emily Carter, a 28-year-old ordinary girl, stood on the balcony of her apartment that night, staring at the city lights. Her heart felt empty, and the long months of COVID-19 isolation had filled her with an uneasy restlessness. Sometimes she wondered, will there ever be someone in my life who truly understands me? Someone I can trust? This feeling of loneliness pushed Emily towards a dating app. Her phone lit up with a notification. "You've got a new match." A faint smile appeared on Emily's lips. Perhaps it was joy, or perhaps the first glimpse of the biggest mistake of her life. She clicked on Ryan's profile, an assertive, confident-looking 35-year-old whose pictures radiated charm and skill. For the first few days, Emily and Ryan exchanged only messages. Slowly they began to get to know each other. Ryan showed patience, understanding, and a caring nature in their conversations, and Emily started feeling that maybe this person was genuinely good. A few weeks later, Ryan invited Emily to meet him in person. Emily hesitated. Her mind was full of questions. Am I really going to meet a complete stranger? Will this be safe? But Ryan's confident words drew her in. Emily listened to her heart and agreed to meet him. Little did she know that this decision would soon become the biggest mistake of her life. During their first meeting, Emily felt that Ryan was kind and considerate. But hidden beneath that charming exterior was a predator, a man who had previously been involved in terrible acts with other women. Emily had no idea about this dark truth. On the night of June 6th, Emily's heart was a mix of excitement and curiosity. But who could have known that this meeting would mark the beginning of the most terrifying trial of her life? After weeks of texting and video calls, Emily finally decided to meet Ryan in person. It was in a quiet, deserted part of the city, an old apartment building tucked away in a street where hardly anyone ventured. Even after COVID, people still preferred staying indoors, so the street was eerily silent. Emily's heart pounded with every step she took. Am I really making the right choice? Do I even know him? Her mind was flooded with questions, but she pushed her fears aside. Ryan held her hand and said gently, "Don't worry, I'll keep you safe. Just follow me." Emily took a deep breath and followed him inside. At first, everything seemed normal. Ryan welcomed her politely, smiling and guiding her into the apartment. The scene looked calm, almost harmless. Emily thought maybe he really was a good person. But this was only a facade. The truth Ryan had hidden inside was far more sinister. He had a history of abusing other women. Assault, rape, and recording videos of his victims were part of his dark patterns. And Emily, she was meant to be his next target. Without Emily realizing, Ryan slipped a sedative into her coffee. When she woke up, she found herself tied to a bed. The horrifying reality hit her. She had made the biggest mistake of her life. Ryan called his friends over, and together they began a campaign of relentless abuse. Emily was beaten, raped, and recorded for their twisted purposes. Her screams went unheard, lost in the silent apartment. She thought desperately, if only I had never downloaded this app. If only I had never agreed to meet him. Trusting him was the worst mistake of my life. Every day brought a new level of torment. Ryan's anger and cruelty consumed every moment of Emily's life. She began to wonder if she would ever escape his grip and survive. Emily's life-altering moment kept replaying in her mind. The night of June 6, 2022, the night she had stepped out with hope and excitement to meet Ryan for the first time, still felt like a fresh wound. She walked through the deserted streets of the city, her heart pounding, shadows of fear looming everywhere. Ryan was a mentally unstable man. Every moment of his life was driven by the thought that inflicting pain on others brought him pleasure. There was no trace of mercy in his eyes. Each time he would approach Emily with intimidation first, then escalate his cruelty. There was a strange, twisted joy in his actions, a pleasure only someone like him could feel. Emily realized she had never felt so helpless and powerless in front of anyone. Ryan's friends joined in, participating in her screams, showing no empathy whatsoever. Together they inflicted small cuts on her body, her arms, hands, legs. Each cut became a mark of their overpowering control. Ryan smiled after each cut, deriving pleasure from Emily's suffering like a truly psychotic man, his eyes glowing with a terrifying light that would send chills down anyone's spine. Emily screamed, cried, and repeatedly thought, "This is the biggest mistake of my life, this dating app, this meeting, this trust. It has led me to my destruction." But there was no one to hear her. No help, no complaint, no savior. Every moment, every day the circle of torture expanded. Ryan's mind always had a plan. He would think of new ways to terrify and immobilize Emily. Sometimes he would bind her hands, sometimes create marks on her legs, sometimes involve his friends to exert complete control over her. His only goal was to constantly remind Emily that she was entirely at his mercy. Emily's eyes were wide with fear, her body drenched in sweat, her every breath filled with terror, every moment filled with pain. She wondered, how can a human being be this cruel? So many months, so many days, and I am trapped under his grip, living moment to moment. Her screams, cries, and echoes of fear filled the empty apartment. Yet for Ryan and his friends, it was all a game that grew darker and more terrifying with each passing day. Ryan's mental state was at its most dangerous. He felt pleasure by witnessing every ounce of her pain and fear, as if Emily's suffering were his entertainment. Each cut, each blow, each threat gave him satisfaction that he was in full control. For Emily, each moment reinforced one stark reality: the only way to survive was to endure her fear and pain and avoid a single mistake. Every day had become part of Ryan's psychological game. He monitored everything, sometimes measuring the intensity of her fear, sometimes smiling at her screams. His friends were also complicit, forming a complete mental vice around Emily. After months of sheer terror, the room was no longer just a place. It had become a witness to Ryan's brutality. Emily no longer screamed. Her voice seemed extinguished. Her eyes were open, but there was no life in them. Ryan stood in a corner, watching her. There was neither anger nor pity in his eyes, only cold satisfaction. Suddenly, one of his friends said, "Dude, how long?" One girl, "The same game." Silence fell in the room. Another added, "And what if she survives? What if one day she talks? Police? Media?" The word sent a shock through everyone present. It was the first time fear entered Ryan's friends' hearts. But Ryan? He smiled. Slowly, very slowly, he said, "That's why we won't end her." Everyone looked at him, stunned. Ryan lit a cigarette, exhaled the smoke, and continued, "We'll make her disappear from here. Far enough, so her voice can never return." One friend asked, "How?" There was a strange calm in Ryan's voice. "A gang. A gang that asks no questions. A gang that sends girls from one city to another, sometimes even out of the country." Silence gripped the room. Ryan stepped closer to Emily. She trembled. She will have no name there. No phone. No identity. Only one thing: silence. One of the friends panicked. "And what if she tries to say something on the way?" Ryan answered immediately, "That's why the transfer will be under unconsciousness. Eyes blindfolded. Ears blocked. Hands chained." Then he added softly, "And the gang will have clear instructions. No phone, no outside contact, no chance." Emily heard everything. Every word felt like a hammer on her heart. For the first time she realized this wasn't just imprisonment, it was a plan for complete erasure. She wanted to cry, but even her tears seemed dried up. Ryan dialed a number on his phone. Seconds later he spoke a single sentence. "Yes, the arrangements are ready. Tomorrow night." He hung up. The room was engulfed in an ominous silence. Emily thought to herself, "If tomorrow night passes, I may never return." That was the night after which Emily's world split into two parts. No, and after being vanished, and somewhere far away, a new door was about to open. A door from which returning would be almost impossible. A strange odor suddenly filled the room. Emily tried to open her eyes, but her head felt unbearably heavy. Breathing became difficult. Ryan's shadow leaned over her. This will only take a few moments. Within seconds, the world began spinning before her eyes, and then, everything went black. When Emily regained consciousness, her body wouldn't move. A blindfold covered her eyes. Her hands were tightly bound, and only one sound echoed in her ears. The engine. The vehicle was speeding. With every turn, her heart sank deeper and deeper. Somewhere far away, in a deserted place, the vehicle stopped. The blindfold was removed. What Emily saw was no less than a nightmare. Several men stood there, each holding a weapon, some intoxicated, some laughing, some staring at her, as if she weren't human at all, but merchandise. Ryan's voice was heard one last time. 10,000. No questions. A brief silence. Then a handshake. The deal was done. At that very moment, Emily's life was reduced to a price tag. $10,000. She was shoved back into a vehicle. This time the journey was even longer. When she was finally taken out, she stood before a place that had no name. A secret club. One the city refused to acknowledge. But inside, darkness was alive. Noise everywhere. Drugs. Alcohol. Laughter. Faces where humanity had long been buried. This was the place where girls arrived and never returned. Emily stopped counting time. Day and night lost all meaning. Each day shattered the last remains of her endurance. She often whispered to herself, maybe dying would have been easier. Her body had grown weak, but the deepest wounds were inside her soul. One night, something was different. A man came in, quiet. His eyes did not carry the savagery she had seen in the others. He bought Emily, but once inside the room, he only sat down on a chair. Are you okay? At that question, Emily froze. It was a question she hadn't heard in months. She stayed silent. The next day, he came again. Then the next day, he only talked. He listened. He never forced himself on her. Fear still lived in Emily's heart. Ryan's face was still etched in her mind. Don't trust anyone. That's the mistake that brought me here. But days passed. Finally, one day, Emily broke. She told him everything. The dating app, Ryan, the captivity, the sale. The man listened quietly. For the first time, anger appeared in his eyes. Softly he said, "You're not here to die." Then he did something Emily had never expected. He took out his phone and held it out to her. Just one call. Anyone you want. Emily's hands trembled. This was a chance, or another betrayal. Finally, she dialed the number. On the other end, she heard the voice of an old friend. Emily broke down completely. "Please save me. I don't know where I am, but if not today, then never." As soon as the call ended, that friend dialed 911. The phone's location was traced, and for the first time, in all that darkness, someone lit a light for Emily. As Emily sat on the hospital bed, her physical wounds were slowly healing, but in her eyes the nights she endured were still alive, wounds no medicine could ever heal. She looked at herself in the mirror, and the same question echoed over and over in her mind. Why did I trust a stranger so much? Why did I give my life into the hands of someone hiding behind a screen? She took a deep breath and told herself, I wasn't weak, I was just lonely, and the most dangerous thing in the world is a wrong decision made in loneliness. Emily knew she had survived, but she also knew that many people never get a chance like hers. She spoke softly. If my story can save even one person from blind trust, then maybe my pain wasn't in vain. Fire. This story isn't just about Emily. It's about thousands of boys and girls who, in loneliness, lack of love, or emotional vulnerability, fall prey to the wrong people on dating apps. Remember, not every smile is genuine, not every message is love, and every perfect match could be a trap that destroys lives. In the online world, trust is the most expensive thing, and in the wrong hands, that trust becomes the deadliest weapon. If you use dating apps, never meet alone, never trust blindly, And in any sign of danger, seek help immediately, because risking your life in search of love isn't bravery, it's foolishness. Lightbulb, if you enjoyed my story, please like this video, share this story, and subscribe to our channel Rise from Shadow.